The summer holidays, a time of hope, of freedom, where anything is possible until you wake up and it's the 1st of September and you realize you've wasted your entire summer. Nothing is worse than that nagging feeling of knowing that the days are slowly counting down until you have to go back to school. And you're trying to have fun, but you feel this anxiety and it feels all boring and pointless. So what do? Playing video games and binging Netflix gets old pretty quick. So here are the 5 steps to not waste your summer. Step 1, go outside. I know it sounds basic, I know I sound like your mom telling you to get off your phone, go and get some fresh air. But bro, your mom was right. I don't know if I have seasonal affective disorder or whatever it's called, but I swear to God, in the summer everything just seems better. Like I'll literally just be walking outside, if it's sunny in like the evening, the sky looks like aesthetic, I'll just get happy for literally no reason. Nothing particularly good, out of the ordinary has to be going on in my life, but I'll just randomly start being happy. I probably look like some sort of psychopath just smiling to myself, but it's true. It's not to say that in the winter I'm particularly depressed or anything, but there's definitely a noticeable difference. So if you don't spend as much time as physically possible outside right now, a few months down the line when it starts getting dark at like 4 PM and it's all cold and rainy, you will regret it. That's not to mention all the health benefits of being out in the sun, in nature. So literally find a way to go outside, even if it's just for the sake of being outside. You don't need a reason to. Being outside in the sun has got to be the best antidepressant, especially if you combine it with physical activity. If you go for a walk or a run, if you play a sport, if you work out outside, it's so good. But whatever you have to do, go eat your food in your front garden, whatever it is, just don't waste this opportunity. Step 2, plan something. Plan some sort of trip, some sort of social event, even just like a hangout with a friend. But notice that I said plan. The research shows that most of the dopamine release from an activity actually comes from the anticipation of doing it. This is when you know you're sat in class, you're daydreaming about the holiday you're going to go on. That daydreaming actually releases more dopamine than being on the holiday itself. And in case you don't know, dopamine is this brain chemical that's basically it's associated with excitement and pleasure. This is something me and one of my closest friends always joke about. You know, we'll always sit there making so many different plans about what we're going to do, and then the plans never really leave the group chat. We never actually end up doing it. But actually just talking about it, just getting on that like FaceTime call or messaging being like, oh, we'll go do this and that, we'll go wear this, we'll go eat this, that's actually releasing most of the dopamine. A mental model that I like to use for happiness is that to be truly happy, you have to be happy about the present, the past, and the future. So yes, we got to try and put the focus on the present, doing fun things, but also if you have something to look forward to in the future, something that you've planned, even when you're not doing that thing, even when I'm just thinking about, oh, next week I'm going to go do this, that can make your day-to-day experience in the present moment feel more enjoyable. So a good practice would be to literally have one thing every week or every 2 weeks, just at regular intervals, planned out during your summer that you can look forward to going and doing.
You think you can save me? Oh, you think you can.
Step 3, prioritize enjoyment over pleasure. What the fuck does that mean? Enjoyment and pleasure, they're usually kind of seen as like vaguely the same thing. But there's actually a really important difference between the two. That if you don't get right, this could be the reason that you feel like you're wasting your summer. Pleasure is an instant, a short-term, positive response to something external. So if you eat some food that tastes nice, if you get like, you know, a warm chocolate brownie with some vanilla ice cream or something, you eat that, your mind will instantly release some brain chemicals, whatever, and you feel good, you feel pleasure, you feel happy. But the problem is it only lasts for a short moment, and then it's almost immediately replaced by like this slight discomfort. And so you have to have more of that same thing to try and make up for that. This is when, you know, you get like one Cheeto out of a bag, you eat it, you get this little bit of pleasure, this dopamine spike, and then it goes a little bit below where it actually was before. And so you think, okay, to make this up, let's have another Cheeto and another Cheeto, until next thing you know, you've eaten the entire bag. So that's pleasure. Enjoyment, on the other hand, comes from being in what's called a flow state. So a flow state, you'll probably know what it is if you've ever played a musical instrument or played a sport or even video games. It's when you're completely immersed in an activity, so immersed that you forget about everything else. You forget about your daily problems. It's when you completely lose yourself in the activity. And it's not necessarily for getting the end goal, even though that's probably part of it, but just doing the activity gives you the enjoyment. The difference with enjoyment compared to pleasure is that enjoyment is a lot longer lasting, and also the type of feeling good is different to pleasure. With pleasure, it's like you get this short hit, this rush of this positive physical sensation. But with enjoyment, it's more tied to feelings like satisfaction, fulfillment, contentment. It's one of the sad truths of the world that the things that give us the most pleasure are usually also the things that aren't actually good for us. For example, junk food, drugs, beating your meat. And a lot of people use these pleasurable things to distract themselves from any problems they have, any negative emotions they might be feeling in the present moment. And that includes me and you. So when you're doing the homework, you get stuck on some sort of question and you really don't know how to do it, so you whip out your phone and scroll on Instagram to escape. But the problem is, after this short hit of pleasure is over, the problems are still there, the negative emotions are still there. You're like an ostrich trying to bury your head in the sand to avoid your problems, but they're still there when you come back. And now you also have the added shame and guilt of knowing that you did this thing that isn't really good for you. So if we go back to this mental model of happiness I was talking about before, so yes, maybe you'll feel good in the present doing the thing, but then what about the past? Well, after you've done this thing, you'll feel bad about your past because you feel this shame and guilt about doing this thing that isn't good for you. Then about the future, now all of a sudden you feel a bit worse about the future because you've done this thing that makes you worse. You know that if one of your goals is to be healthy, but you do this pleasurable thing of eating this junk food, then you'll be less healthy in the future. You're basically just less happy all across the board. But the beauty with enjoyment is often it can come from activities that are actually good for us. Working out, playing a sport, trying to learn a new skill, having deep conversations. It's when you have a goal and you're challenging yourself. It's not so easy that it gets boring, but it's not so hard that it's unachievable. It's just in that sweet spot of challenge where you really have to try hard, but it's just possible. That's when enjoyment comes. That's when you get in that flow state. It uses some effort, but when you do it, you feel good in the moment. And then you feel good about your past because you look back and you're like, I'm happy I did this. And then you also feel excited and hopeful for the future because you know that what you've just done is going to make you a better person. Now, this is not to say that pleasure is all bad. There is definitely a place for pleasure. But most of the time you're probably best served focusing on enjoyment and then maybe layering a bit of pleasure on top as like the cherry on top to combine it with enjoyment. So if you go out with your friends and you play football and you enjoy that, you have some deep conversations, just talk about life, what you're going to do, or you can just talk about football. And then you go and maybe stop off and get some ice cream on your way home. That is sick, that's amazing. That's such a good, fantastic experience. Enjoyable and pleasurable. That is very different if you're sat on your own in your room scrolling on Instagram whilst talking into your third Ben and Jerry's of the day. Step 4, learn something new. All year in school we have to learn random shit that often we don't even really care about. So now when you have all this free time in the summer, it can be pretty tempting to think, well, why would I want to learn anything now? Might as well just play video games all day. But now that we have so much time, so much freedom, so little responsibility, this is the perfect time to find out what are you actually interested in, deep down. Just let your curiosity guide you. Just ask yourself, if I never had to go back to school again, but I could learn about anything I wanted to, what do you actually want to learn about? What do you want to get better at? Maybe you really want to learn how to edit videos or draw in like this particular style. Maybe you want to learn how to play the piano. I've got friends who now in the summer they have so much free time, they've started learning about stocks and trading. My little sister's gotten really into running and like trying to optimize the different types of runs. For me, there are a few. I love learning about science, about how the body and mind work. But also I'm learning about how to communicate better, how to create more engaging videos, all of this. Right now, one of the books I'm reading is The Art of Explanation by Ross Atkins. So hopefully I can try and explain some of these concepts a bit better in these videos so you can understand them and get more value. Now when you do this, longer form content is king. Trust me bro, you're never going to learn anything good from shorts, from Instagram reels. Maybe you'll learn like a fact every now and then, but it's like trying to search for that little gemstone in a pile of shit, that little needle in the haystack. Longer form content is king, because that's when you get all of the context around it. That's when you can actually understand the topic instead of just getting little snippets that are out of context. So read books, listen to podcasts, audiobooks, or watch like longer YouTube videos like this one. But the most important thing is that you are learning about what you actually want to learn about, not what you think you should be learning about. Maybe deep down you really want to learn about like music production, but instead of doing that you feel like, well, I should be learning how to make money, so you go learn about some scammy dropshipping website, whatever, and then that ends up failing. So now you've failed at this and you didn't get to learn what you really wanted to do. Just go and do the thing that you want to learn about, and even if you fail, at least you learned something new and you enjoyed it whilst you're doing it. And finally, step 5, set a big goal to work on. Wait, what? But summer is for relaxing. Why do I actually have to do work? You lazy bitch. There was a study that this scientist with the long ass surname that I can't pronounce did a while back that used something called the experience sampling method. Basically, the people involved had like this little device that would go off at random points during the day. And every time the device went off, people would have to stop what they're doing and write down what exactly they were doing at that moment and how they were feeling. And bro, they did a study for like years with thousands of different people in different areas of life, and what they actually found was that people felt the worst when they were doing the supposed relaxation activities. We all think when I'm at school that's the worst part of my day, but actually when people were sat at home, when they were watching TV, whatever, that's when they rated themselves as feeling the worst. And consistently the one worst experience came among people who didn't go to church on Sunday morning. It's when, you know, you're like laying in bed but you don't have anything particular for you to get out of bed for. You haven't planned anything, you don't have anything to do, so you just lay around there, you're awake, you can't go back to sleep, but you don't want to get out of bed either. We all have this belief that in order to be happy we need to try and work as little as possible and relax as much as we possibly can. But when you do this, that's when you end up with that feeling that you've wasted your entire summer. You need some sort of goal to work on, something that you can look back and literally point at it and say, this is what I did, this is what I produced over the summer. Something you feel proud of, something that made your life better in some way. So an example could be something it was for me in the past, and it might be for quite a lot of you, is to try and make an academic comeback, to catch up on all the stuff you never really understood in school. Especially in the summer now, it's like the perfect opportunity, because whilst everyone else is fucking around scrolling on Instagram or binging Netflix, if you literally put in like an hour a day across every single day, if you just wake up at 8 AM instead of midday and get an hour in, add that up over every single day of the summer, and you will make a huge transformation to your grades, and you can come back a completely different student whilst also still having time to enjoy the rest of your summer. If this specifically is your goal, by the way, I've put together a free straight A's in 14 days challenge. Yes, it's a rhyming name, it's a bit cringe, but go check that out, first link in the description, completely free. Or that might not be your goal. Maybe your goal is to try and gain 2 kilograms of muscle. Maybe it's to try and get your first pull-up. I remember I used to always have this feeling that I was wasting my summer every single time, until the summer when I turned 14, because that's when I started grinding football. I think I made a video about this recently, I'll try and put it up on one of the cards. So every day I'd be going out to the field, I'd be training, I'd be going for runs, I'd be working out. And I never got this feeling of wasting my summer ever again, because I wasn't wasting it. I could look back and say, I have improved by so much over this summer. My life is better in some way because of this summer. This doesn't mean you have to hustle 24/7, slaving away in your room. I'm not telling you to go on this millionaire grind set, whatever. It's still the summer and you're still young, so go out and enjoy, have fun, relax. But even if you spend like 30 minutes, 1 hour, every single day working on this goal, you can make huge progress over the summer and you can look back at it with pride. And that is how you make the most of your summer. So go check out in the first link in the description if you want to improve your grades over the summer, and thanks for watching. Peace.